is up, everybody? Or afternoon. I don't know what day it is. No, I know what day it is. It's Sunday. Man, you think that I'll get in trouble for that? Man, I didn't claim it was mine. I was, hey, you can just say a post. Anyway, I thought that was fun. Play with. Good morning. And today I'm just hanging out. But I had to do an episode today for reasons not unknown, you know. Just because we like doing them. Hang on. I'm trying to get this stuff together and then it's just telling something else. I'm not on. Wait, like right now. But luckily, this is where you can say, oh man. Hang on, I apologize.
So, at last we meet for the first time for the last time.
Before you die, there is something you should know about us, Lone Star.
What?
I am your...
To become. Shipper. So I got to Bluetooth off that again. And, you know, you just wait for these things to happen. It's just probably the best. Usually then nothing is coming through, and that would mean my voice would not be coming through, and that would mean that we would not be recording, which would mean you guys wouldn't be able to hear me, and I wouldn't see much of a point in trying to do this. I'm sure you guys get it. Okay. That's really weird though, man. That's kind of my shirt, you know what I'm saying? Like my, like my, checker to see if I'm, if it's, well, shoot, that's not it. Shit, oops, again. Okay, wait. I don't know if everybody can hear me or not. Maybe I shouldn't guess this. God. Dang. Oh, maybe? Okay. Yeah, do that. I've turned it off. Restart it. Well, no, I can wait for someone to do it right now. Okay. Man, today, so, I'm doing this, have you ever noticed, have you ever noticed, when you hear about someone, dying? Oh my god, okay, I think it worked. Wait. What do I do here? No, I knew it. No, I knew it worked. I knew that wasn't on Bluetooth. Aha.
Now it is. Okay. I'm glad I checked that, man. I'm so glad I checked that. Because I would have, this whole thing, I wouldn't have even known. Yeah. Let's just sort of, here we go. Oh, yeah. Good morning, afternoon, and all of that fun stuff. Okay, maybe we should start like this. Okay. Welcome to NoAvaiL Mystery Podcast, where everything is fun and game and it's not. You know, I'm not even going to try that today. They had the worst of all technical difficulties in the world. So, man, have you ever noticed that, when you hear about somebody dying, right? And then, you get a call, someone else. Maybe not real close to you, and maybe not even, but close enough where you hear it, and you're like, oh shit. And you realize, wait a minute, man. I think this always happens in threes. Does anybody ever, you know what I mean? Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I know that we die, like we're 7, before you guys are, so, 14. So 7 times, because that's 7-year dog years, so that's where we're at with it, yeah.
Okay. Well, Lincoln, thank you, man. Hey, y'all know, I'm so glad that I get it. So you're saying you age your 7 dog years. I got you. Which had everything to do with what? So, that's what I love about Lincoln. Have you ever noticed? And so everything happens in threes. Everybody, anybody that has to lose anybody near them I just argue. You can't enough. It's one of the parts of life that you have. To me, like, people want, like, say wants to get ferrets or something, and I'm like, no, I got enough dog. I don't want, I start immediately thinking, no, when that's more so that I have to do or be close to losing. Okay. That's a horrible way of looking, because I love her dog. Okay. So, has anyone noticed that? Okay. Well, Tesla has this thing. Tesla, I say like he just was at him talking yesterday or something. Nikola Tesla had this theory about the universe, and it's a universal thing. It's like and these are in numbers of 3, 6, and 9, and you could start going 3 times 3 times 3 times, or 3 times 3 is 9, and all these 3 times 2 is 6, and these numbers that are equally. It's a real cool thing. Look at kind of what we're at. I'm talking about today. They told me I was the brightest one. In Tesla's private journals, which were unleashed after his death, after he died, including many references to the number 3, 6, and 9, he would often work on problems for extended periods of time, and during these sessions, he would jot down 3, 6, and 9 as a reminder to himself to take a break. Interesting. It has been speculated that the number 3, 6, and 9 had a hidden meaning for Tesla, and that he used it as a way to unlock the mysteries of the universe. Some experts believe that the numbers are linked to the Fibonacci sequence, while others believe that they are code for a secret project that Tesla was working on. And, okay, the Fibonacci number thing is really insanely cool. You have not checked that? Check out. I should do it. You could do a whole entire episode on the Fibonacci. It says that all plants, they all have a certain number, like, of leaves. It's a balance, a code to life, and I probably just sounded really stupid saying that. But so well, I'll do a show so I don't just sound like the biggest idiot. But man, I think the Fibonacci. I think it works great. I mean, I think it works. Man, I shut up. Whether or not the numbers are a hidden meaning for Tesla, one thing is certain: they continue to fascinate people of this day to this day. The man behind the invention, Nikola Tesla, he was born in 1856 in what is now Croatia. And you always hear the weirdest stories about Croatia. Man, I'm serious. Like those really freaky. He was a gifted child who showed an aptitude for science and mathematics from a young age. He attended the Polytechnic Institute in Graz, Austria, where he studied engineering. Everybody knows, you know. I mean, unless you guys want to know. He arrived in New York City and only 4 cents in his pocket. Quickly found work as an engineer. Soon caught the attention of Thomas Edison, one of the famous inventors of the time, of course, and worst people, I think. You know what? I wasn't there. I'm not going to say it. Edison hired Tesla to work for him, and the two men quickly became rivals. And Tesla and like Edison, Tesla's got my vote. I just say that. Tesla and Edison's rivalry came to a head in 1886 when Tesla quit Edison's company after a disagreement over resources and funding. Tesla struck out on his own, and he soon became one of the most famous inventors in the world. In 1891, Tesla filed for a patent for his invention of the Tesla coil, which is a type of transformer used in electrical circuits. The Tesla coil is still used today in radios, TVs, and other electronic devices. In 1893, Tesla presented a paper at the Columbia Historical Society in which he described his plans for a world system of wireless communication. The system would allow people to communicate with each other without the need for wires. In the following year, Tesla patented the Tesla turbine, that big, crazy looking, a brushless water-cooled engine that was more efficient than the steam engines of that time. He also founded the Tesla Electric Light Company, which was later renamed the Tesla Company. In 1895, Tesla demonstrated his invention of radio by sending a radio signal across the Atlantic Ocean. This was the first time that radio had been used to communicate in the distance. In 1899, Tesla moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado, where he built a laboratory. There, he conducted experiments on the transmission of electrical power without wires. He also experimented with high-frequency currents, which he believed could use to treat medical conditions. Tesla's inventions made him a celebrity, and he often featured in the newspapers of the day. He was even hailed as the wizard of electricity. However, Tesla's obsession with his work often led him to neglect his personal life. He was a reclusive who rarely left his laboratory, and he was often ridiculed by the press for his eccentric behavior. Despite his eccentricities, Tesla was a brilliant inventor whose work shaped the world of electrical engineering, and he died at 1943 at the age of 86. Be honest with you, I thought he died young. Man, he shows you how smart I am, and that is why everybody should listen to everything that I say, because I know
You know how wrong you are, sir.
If you know any of the absolute sarcasm in my voice, I'm sorry. All right, the obsession with numbers. This is the part that I'm really interested in, and I've heard about this, but it's like in 3, 6, and 9. He had this obsessed with the 3, 6, and 9, and he would often work on problems for extended periods of time, and during these sessions, he jot down 3, 6, and 9 as a reminder to himself to take a break. It's been speculated that the number 369 had a hidden meaning for Tesla, and that he used it as a way to unlock the mysteries of the universe. And see, it's like the Fibonacci number, man. Some experts believe that the numbers are linked to that I did. My God, that's fucking funny. Trish Trobus, what's up? Thank you for joining. I can't believe it. Yeah, no, it was like this, just a, and he would say 3, and then he would go into these weird, well, I say like I knew him or something. From what I hear, just in case anyone got confused, I am saying it like that. He was a lifelong believer in the power of the number 3, 6, and 9. He believed these numbers were the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. In a 1931 interview, Tesla said, "If you only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe." Tesla was convinced that the number 3, 6, and 9 were the key to the understanding how the universe works and all its mysteries. He believed they were a code that could be used to unlock the secrets of the universe. Unfortunately, he will never know for sure what Tesla meant by the number 369. Tesla took his secrets to the grave with him and may never, ever know what he was really, truly trying to say, which is really crazy. Oh, but it makes total sense. There is something in the world of it's whole world universe just seems to work on a math type. Now, man, after that, it's all but gotta be everything's so mathematically. That's got to be a universal type of a communicating utensil. And like he talked about the connection, to the divine. Some people believe that Tesla's obsession with the 369 was more than a mathematical curiosity. They believe that Tesla was trying to connect with a higher power, and the numbers 3, 6, and 9 were a key to this connection. And some experts believe that I'm talking like he's a car. Tesla was trying to connect with the divine, and that the numbers 3, 6, 9 were a code for his connection. Others believe that Tesla was trying to tap into a hidden power source that could be used to create a new source of energy. Whatever Tesla's true intentions were, there is no denying that the number 3, 6, and 9 had a very special meaning to him, and to, I think, as well, the whole universe. I didn't say that, believe me. But the end of an era. I can't talk. Tesla's obsession with the number 3, 6, and 9 came to an end shortly before his death. In the last few years of his life, Tesla began to lose his interest in his work, and he became increasingly reclusive. In the months before his death, he stopped referring to the numbers 3, 6, and 9, which is weird to go at the end. That's according to his private journals. And some believe that this was because Tesla had finally cracked the code that he was looking for. Others believe that Tesla had simply lost interest in his work. Whatever the reason, Tesla's obsession with the number 3, 6, and 9 came to an end shortly before his death. Tesla took his secrets to the grave with him, and we may never know the true meaning. But if you put that next to the Fibonacci number, there's totally something there. It's really cool. Yeah. No, I wish to God I wouldn't have. Yeah. But it's real cool. Well, no, it goes back to the same thing I was talking about. Death always happen in threes. You always get that phone call of And I mean, I don't know. I really wasn't trying to, do it. Yeah. No, but it's cool. It's interesting. Yeah, no. I'm curious if anybody notices this surface. Now, I know the Fibonacci number thing is, it's not, it's like, it's, Fibonacci number thing is, man, if you, yes, no, they're crazy. In mathematics, the Fibonacci sequence is a sequence in which each number is the sum of two preceding ones. It's real cool. And nature goes right with it. Numbers that are part of the Fibonacci sequence are known as Fibonacci numbers, commonly denoted F. The sequence commonly starts from 0 and 1, although some authors start the sequence from 1 and 1, or sometimes, as said Fibonacci, from 1 and 2, starting from 0 and 1. The sequence that begins 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 5, 8, 8, 13, 13, 21, 21, 34, 34, 55, 55, 89, and so on. Now, the Fibonacci numbers were first described in Indian mathematics as early as 200 BC in the work of the Pingals. It gets very descriptive, but it comes up in in nature would, yes, in the numbers like how many flowers pertain to each plant, and it's. I'll have to do a whole show on it. Yeah, no, it's a lot, but it's real cool. But I'll do a show on it. It deserves. It totally does. Might do that tomorrow, man. Yeah, no, I've got these cool. I've got let me see. Yeah, after the break. Yeah, no, I got these a list of these. No, he's always. And he's like in a boo. I know, if I turn that off to the earth. Yeah, he's not saying much today. I know. Anyway, yeah. No, so I've got these letters, I've got this really, really cool, it's real long in the email that I want to read about this kid, and yeah. All right, man, I apologize. All right, Lincoln. Makes the noise. No. Yeah. No, you think we'll get trouble? I might.
Torches is big. Now you see that evil will always triumph, because good is dumb.
All right, man, this is a cool story. All right. This is, yeah. I mean, actually, no, I'm going to take a break for a second. Yeah. No, I'll be right back. All right, everybody. Guess what? It is that time of the bottom of the hour, man. All right. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I have to take a break. with these special messages. No, don't go anywhere. I won't be right back. No, I don't want to.
He just thought it was...
Might be replayed. Okay. That's fun. I'll be right back.
Some sort of demon coming for him. His father, also being a believer. You might say superstitious. Whatever you want to call it. My grandfather told his father, my great-grandfather, they didn't waste any time. They got in the truck and they left. Before I go, another crazy story for my grandfather. When he was about 18, 19, or 20, it was in the fall, and he was tracking this really large buck. He came to this spot in the woods where he had good eyes on it, and as he got ready to make the shot, this large, Bigfoot-like creature comes out of nowhere, grabs the buck by the neck, twists and breaks its neck like it was a small bird, virtually effortlessly, then just grabs the buck by the back legs, throws it over its shoulder, and casually walks off. Scared my grandfather pretty badly too. He took off. My grandfather's tribe, the Choctaw people, have a name that they call these Bigfoot creatures, but forgive me, because I can't remember it at the moment. But he knows what he saw. He has also seen them growing up, so he knew what it was. I'll reach out to him and see if I can't get him to document or write down a bunch of his experiences and encounters. I think you would really appreciate them, and if anything, really enjoy them. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Have a wonderful day. I spoke with this witness on January 8th, 2006, for more than 40 minutes. This man and his wife were returning from a trip from Florence, Alabama. They were watching the sun set as they drove along the Trace Parkway in a generally southwestern direction. They had just crossed the Mississippi-Alabama state line and had traveled approximately 3 to 4 miles into Mississippi as they approached mile marker 307. The witness said that he saw what initially appeared to be a person jogging along the right side of the road in a southwestern direction. He emphasized that it's fairly common to see joggers along the trace, so he didn't think too much about it at first glance. The witness said that when approaching that mile marker, the road is hilly, and there's a slight downhill incline at that point. At the bottom of the hill, the road curves to the right when traveling southwest on the trace. There was a vehicle approaching in the opposite direction and was just entering the witness's field of vision as he topped the hill just prior to mile marker 307. The vehicle traveling in the opposite direction had also just topped the hill as well. As both vehicles came into view of each other on tops of their respective hills, the animal appeared to panic. Both cars traveled down their hills, around the curve, and past each other. The witness slowed to nearly a stop, while the other car appeared to pass by without slowing at all. The animal was initially traveling at a normal speed for a jogger when he first noticed it, but then it suddenly began moving quickly and appeared to be running at about the speed a deer would sprint as both vehicles entered the curve. As it crossed the road from right to left, it lost its balance and tipped, nearly falling down. After catching its balance, it bounded off into the woods. It had its back towards the him until it turned across the road. The closest he came to it was roughly 25 to 30 yards, and it ran between the two cars, and roughly equal distance between the vehicles. He said it was solid black, and was even illuminated by the sun, which was still in the sky at this point. He said the entire observation lasted only a matter of seconds, and his full attention was focused on it for roughly 2. It happened so quickly that he didn't even have the time to say look to his wife, who was also in the car with him. He thinks the sighting took place with the bounds of Tishomingo State Park. He emphasized that he did not pay much attention to it until it panicked and began moving very quickly. He got a side profile of it as it crossed. He said its head did not look human, and appeared to be a little raised in the back, and appeared to slope towards the front. He described it as very stocky with a muscular build. When it tripped, it swung its arms out to catch its balance. He said the hands appeared to be much larger, proportionally than a human's, and the arms appearing to be longer, proportionally than a normal human arm. While the animal was running along the highway, the arms were up like a human, just like they would be when jogging. The surrounding terrain is steep hills and large boulders. Bear Creek even runs through here. An area adjacent to this location is called the Freedom Hills. It's called that because it was a favored hiding area for escaped slaves prior to the Civil War. It's very possible a large wild beast might be roaming through this area that resembles that of what they call a Bigfoot. My mother and I had taken my young Doberman to the Honey Island swamp to let him run and get some exercise. We had driven to the end of the road where the bridge had collapsed and you could not go any further back by car. The area is just a few miles from the Honey Island exit, off of Interstate 59 in Mississippi. The road was built up, about 8 feet from the ground, since it flooded back there. The area around the road was swampy, having lots of trees. The ground was covered in leaves, since it was fall. We had been there about 10 minutes, and my dog had pretty much been staying on the road as he ran around. I went to get something out of the car, and when I began walking back to where my mother was on the road, she was looking out into the wooded area at something. She pointed out what appeared to be something dark beside a large cypress tree. We could not make out a head, but it appeared to be gray and black, covered in fur, and was actually a torso. Whatever we were looking at was large. It stood above some bushes, and the top part was behind the branches of the tree. It had to have been well over 6 feet tall, since the bushes were at least 3 feet tall. It definitely was not another tree, because the texture was so different, and the big tree next to it looked different. It was approximately 1 p.m. The sun was bright. The light was dappled through the tree cover, but we could see that it was shining off of
Okay, what's up, guys? I hope you didn't go anywhere. I came back.
As if you were to ship your weight
I did.
from one place to another.
Okay.
And by the guess, it was probably 50 to 70 seconds.
Okay. Well, I'm just hanging out today anyway, so anybody can call in if you want. I would
And my
love
dog
it if
did
you
not
could
seem to
turn
want to
it.
sleep on before me. After looking at it for at least 2 to 3 minutes, we got very uncomfortable.
Shut up. Just kidding. No, he saves my life. Okay. No. Alright, man. Where is my... Okay. I don't know what else. So, okay, this... I dig this story. Story. Alright. So, I put this thing out about you know how you hear about people that are like stalked by like these cryptid things, or you know what I mean, like like a stalker. You know, the uncomfortable people that you won't ever want to be around. Yeah, those. And so if I were being stalked by a cryptid in these, alright, this is a story. My brother and I were introverts who loved to take solitary walks. And there was one holler, it was called, behind our house that was particularly beautiful. It was fully wooded, had a nice creek, and there were rock walls and piles of stones that had once been a small house and outbuildings, but had long collapsed. If you walked all the way to the back of the holler, what they call them, where the house once stood, you found a large round area with a circular pond, I'm sure that's what this is, and a large tree that split into two and stood right in the middle of the water. which was fed by a small spring. There was also a small waterfall and a very large, old tree with a hole in it, halfway up the trunk, big enough for a grown man to sit in it. Super magical to a kid, would be amazing. Like to have like sticking out, and you could just like jump up in a, you see those as kids, like in owls, hole in the, well, without sounding too, no, I totally know what you mean. We were always lured to this place, as I would be too, and would sneak in the very back, sneak into the back all the time, as if we were almost lured to this place, and would sneak to a very, to just kind of play it without our parents, because our parents never really wanted us back there. Period. Oh yeah, it was a little bit like Jesus. But once we got back there would come a point where we would suddenly feel very, very scared and would have to leave. This only began to happen when we were teenagers. When we were younger, everything was fine, which is why it's so strange. Our dogs would often go with us back into the holler, what they call it, but they like to chase animals and would often run off and leave us. What? Is that Bentley? Yeah, there goes, I know, dipshit, dumbass. What? 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 The dogs? Oh, yeah, well, okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. Oh, I know. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Boy, this is so... Sorry, I apologize. Alright. Our dogs would often go with us back in the holler, but they seemed to always chase other animals, and so they would run off. Things would only start to feel strange and scary once they were gone and we were alone. Once it happened when a dog was with them, though. And I'm going to tell you about that. I'm also going to tell you what animal and cryptid I think was causing it. Really hard to read, yeah. Okay, my brother was the first to start reporting that the holler was scary. He was older and would venture alone before me. He liked to hunt as well. He said that he started to feel like he was being watched, and he even began to feel like he was being followed when he was there. Leaves stayed on the ground in that holler year. This is real hard to read. And swore to my dad that he would be followed because he would stop walking, but the leaves behind him would keep crunching for a few moments, as if something were walking along and stopped right with him. The trees are quite dense, and he says he could never see anything, but he would shout aggressively, let off a gunshot, and even run back the way he came to see if he could flush anything out. He never saw anything specific, but he thought he heard other sounds, like growls sometimes, or stuff like that. He also noticed that the forest would go quiet, which is always a bad sign. That's really true. Then an incident happened where my brother was walking the very bottom of the holler and playing around in the creek. That's what that means. And a large stone boulder came rolling out of nowhere right at him. Wow, because in Shrek boulder? Just kidding. Like I said, the hills are there. The hills are steep and landslides aren't uncommon. Sorry, this is hard to read. He immediately came home and told our dad, and our dad told him to stay out of the holler. in case it was weird, or there was a weird person back there being creepy. Drug dealers had just started to move into the area at the time, and he had been having trouble with the occasional robbery attempts. Oh, shit, okay. You would think that this would scare me away from the holler as well, right? Up to this point, I had not walked alone in it. I'd always gone with my brother. But when we started refusing to go back there, I started going alone. I absolutely loved the woods and spent a lot of time in them. I had a big imagination and loved to play pretend even as a teenager. This holler was very beautiful and pretty and cool in the summer. The creek was really cold for swimming because it was limestone and clear. The pond was gorgeous, like something out of a fantasy novel. I read a lot of novels. I honestly saw myself as an elfin princess, a brave explorer whenever I ventured off. I was also very sheltered. I honestly had no idea how dangerous it could be. Really thought the world was like a book. When I was at the back of our farm, I could see the creek and holler opening with all the trees and butterflies buzzing about, and I always just wanted to go play or even just stand out there somewhere in the trees. It was just a very pretty, cool, awesome place. I like to pretend and live there. Okay. Until the creepy things became happening to me. I would be playing along. I had an MP3 player and would listen to music, dance, climb trees, play in the water, and just walk around looking at things and taking pictures. I still have a lot of pictures I took my phone. Read books. Suddenly, it would happen. I would realize that the woods were completely quiet. I would look around and start to feel very uneasy, like I was being watched. It was always something like dogs or something had gotten bored and ventured off. It never happened when they were around. I would become very conscious, and realize that I wanted to leave. And for some reason, I was always too scared to just walk away. I always felt very, very strong that if I kept my back turned, something would creep up on me. Okay? I was scared that I would walk on the stone. This is so hard. I'm not gonna read it. What? No, you're fine. What were you doing? Oh, I can't read. I gotta. Oh. Yeah. Damn it. That sounds so good. Okay. No. Yeah, I'm just hanging out. Awesome. I can't read that. There's like a couple of people. Okay. Is that
Comfortable. We decided that we would drive a mile or so up past one of the bridges. On the way back to the interstate, we put my dog in the car and drove at least a mile up the road before we stopped again to let my dog back out. We had been there approximately 5 minutes when we heard footsteps in the woods. We could hear them getting closer. This time, my dog picked up on the sound and became alert. We could hear it. We could hear it stop, then move forward a few steps a couple of times. We couldn't see anything, but my dog was definitely trying to figure out what he was hearing. We got a little scared, so we loaded up again, and this time drove up to where there were some nature trails and a shooting range, probably at least 2 miles up the road. We got out of the car again, and were not there for 2 minutes when we heard what sounded like something running through the woods toward us. At that point, my dog got so terrified that he ran back to the car and hit the closed door, just trying to get back in. My mother and I ran to the car. All three of us got out there as fast as we could. We never saw what was making the noise in the woods, but whatever it was big enough to make a lot of noise, both walking and especially running. After leaving and having major discussion about what had happened, my mother and I got our nerve up to go back to the end of the road later that day. So now it's about 4 p.m., and we wanted to see what we had seen earlier, if it was still there. When we got there, we could not find what we had seen before. We saw what we were pretty sure was the big tree, but we did not see what was by it originally, and we were not brave enough to go down into the wooded area for a closer inspection. We basically left with even more questions than we started out with. We never had a clear view of what we saw, but what we heard definitely scared us. Also, before I forget, I once met a girl that told me that her family used to actually camp in the Honey Island swamp, and that something came up one night while they were sitting around the campfire. She said that her dad and uncle scared it off by shooting guns in the air, but not before one of her family members managed to get a couple of pictures of it. She said they weren't very clear, but that you can definitely tell there was something there. She said that they had sent them to LSU for them to review. I do not know her name. I only met her once. She told me about this at least 5 years before even my experience took place. I had went and hung a stand on a tree the day before hunting deer in an area north of Sardis Lake on public land. I knew I was the only person in there because the trails hadn't been used for some time. I rode in about 2 miles and then walked roughly 300 yards to where I had hung my climber. It was just about daybreak. I was 20 or so feet up a pine tree when I heard what sounded like somebody beating a large stick against a tree. A ways away, I spotted some movement in the area. It's where the sound came from. Whatever it was very brown and tall. My first thinking was it was a bear. So, using my binoculars, it was about 200 yards from me and dawn. So I pulled up my rifle to look through the scope, hoping I could see it better. It wasn't a bear. It did not have ears on top of its head, and its face was flat. It was at least 8 feet tall, and stood just like a man. I noticed the skin was a grayish green, and the hair was thin. It was so startled, I stood up. It turned toward my direction, and knew I was there. It leaned its head back as if it were smelling the air, then took off. It moved 40 or so yards in a few seconds and was gone. I was shaking badly, climbed straight down. I cannot believe what I had seen, so I started walking in the direction that I had seen it. I walked over to a hill where it had slid and left a track. It was human-looking, the foot track. This scared me because I was trying to tell myself it was just a bear. Then, a sound came from the woods that sounded just like a whoop. I hurried back, got my stand, and left those woods. That has been 6 years ago now. Every time I told anybody my story, they made fun of me. So I've been reserved about letting anybody know. But recently, a friend of mine had an encounter he does not want to let anybody know about. He thinks people will think he's crazy. So I found the BFRO, and amazed by how many people have seen the same things I have. When I was 8 or 9 years old, my sister, some friends, and I were swimming in a small watering hole, more like a wide spot in a creek, behind the military housing, probably 400 yards into the woods. I wasn't swimming. I was sitting down at the side of the water hole, with my feet in the water, but kind of drawn up beside me, and my sister was sitting between my legs in the water. We were all just playing around, being pretty loud, and I don't know if I had heard something. I caught some movement out of the corner of my eye. My attention was drawn to a large bush on the other side of the swimming hole. I sat there, staring at this bush for a good 30 to 40 seconds, maybe a full minute, before I realized what it was that I was seeing. There was a face looking at me from between and behind some branches. It was very flat, very big, dark brown, almost black. The eyes were black. I thought at the time the eyes were looking at me with curiosity or amusement. It did not look evil, menacing, or, well, you know. I don't remember a mouth or nose. I remember the hands being huge, gigantic, the size of baseball mittens. It seemed like I was looking at it for longer than more just minutes, but it could not have been that long. And all of a sudden, I was just terrified. I picked up my sister and, screaming, ran out of there. Everybody just followed me out. I was the only one who saw it. My friends wanted to know why I was so scared. I told them it was Old Man Walker, which, by the way, is a hermit who supposedly lived way back in the woods and would even shoot at you if he saw you. They were okay with that. I didn't want to believe what I saw, but it definitely was not human, and it was not an old man. I found it very comforting to know I was not the only one to have ever seen something so frightening. Thinking about my encounter, I was in no way threatened, and I don't know why I was so frightened, but I still wake up to this day with nightmares. That face was scary. Back in 2011, all the way up until 2014, I used to work as a 911 phone operator, and while I handled many disturbing phone calls, everything from emergencies to potential suicide, and even worse, everything you can imagine, there was always one that stuck out to me. For the sake of safety, I won't be mentioning the name of the county that I worked for, but I will say that it was in Southern California, in a rather large populated city you probably know about. That's all I'll say about that. The phone call in question was picked up around 12:32 a.m. by a woman who sounded to be around in her 50s. She was complaining that a large, upright, lizard-like person was trying to break into her house. I had sent dispatch to go check it out, but before that even happened, she ended up hanging up on me. And before she ended up hanging up, I heard glass breaking in the background and her screaming. And before that, she was claiming it was trying to get in. When I'd asked her to describe to me the person, she kept saying, "This isn't a person in a costume. This is something from hell." After this thing or person broke into the house, and you could hear the glass shatter, she screamed, and I lost the signal. I got in contact with the officer who arrived at the scene. The lady was missing, and there was a weird green-blue substance all over the side of her wall where the broken window was, leading out behind her house, and then just suddenly vanished. Is it possible that whoever or whatever this was had kidnapped her and taken her? But where? It's something that still haunts me, even as an individual who wasn't even actively on the case. I'm sorry for my story being so short, but that's all the details I have, and I thought it fit well within your realm of storytelling. Take care. After being recently divorced, me and my dog found a nice little place to stay with a beautiful backyard and a nice little creek running behind it, with some woods and swamp beyond that. The house itself is a pretty small place. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, maybe 1,200 square feet at best. It doesn't provide a lot, but it's more than enough for me and my dog. I wouldn't exactly say I live out in the country, but I don't also live in a little suburban neighborhood either. I'm kind of tucked away, not too far from town, but just perfect. You know, The Goldilocks zone. Besides the strange things going on around here, it's actually a pretty beautiful place to live. I get all 4 seasons. The weather and the temperature is pretty moderate, at least what I'm used to. And my favorite part of all, it's quiet. Now that I cleared up all the necessary background info, let's get to the weird stuff that's been happening around here. Like I just mentioned to you, since getting divorced back in September of 2020, I ended up moving into this place right around Halloween of 2020. And weird things have been happening outside of the house ever since. Weird noises, strange sounds. Sometimes I could hear this weird water dripping noise, like a large drain dripping water outside my house. Loud, squishy sounding footprints right outside my house, like something weighing 800 or 900 pounds, walking through thick, dense mud. Except there is no mud around my house. It's all just dirt and grass. But the scariest thing that happened was back in January. I had woken up right around midnight to go let my dog out. As I go towards the back door and I let him out, he begins kind of freaking out, acting weird. Definitely not normal. But he's still going out, which I'm not sure what that was about. I just thought he was being dumb. And me being half asleep did not help either. He began whimpering more and more as he slowly paced towards the creek, which is maybe 40 or 50 feet away from my back sliding door. Then, I heard the weirdest, loudest groan I'd ever heard. Immediately, it reminded me of something you'd hear from a large alligator or crocodile. That same low groan that they make. And just in that moment, this large shadow rises up from the creek that had to have been easily 8 or 9 feet tall, incredibly large. And that's, to my horror, when I see it reach out for my dog. My dog starts going crazy, barking, going hysterical, which, again, is way out of his character. He's a very docile dog, and without hesitation, I reach down by the door, grab my .22, which I keep loaded at all times, since it's just me. And even though there are really no intruders, this was one exception where I needed to use it. I pick up my .22, take the safety off, and I fire 2 shots at this thing. I understand from you reading this, you might think I'm crazy, just firing at some unknown person or creature that I don't know what it is. But I'm here to tell you that based off the lighting, and based off the shadow that I saw, there was no way that this was a person, or somebody in a costume. This looked like some sort of human dinosaur alligator thing. It was incredibly large, thick, wide, tall, menacing, and terrifying, and had glowing yellow orangey eyes. But in the moment of all this happening, I wasn't thinking those thoughts. I wasn't sitting there wondering what this was. I simply just reacted to the situation. That something was going after my dog. So after firing 2 shots at this thing, which was only a measly .22, it didn't even seem like it even really reacted to it. And I know I hit it, because it stayed stationary, did not even move. It didn't even act like it flinched, and I know I hit it dead on. But as soon as I fired twice, it retracted its arm, which was almost like a slithering motion, like a snake. Even though its arm was incredibly long, with long dangly claws, it then turned its entire body and head right towards me. I have never in my life, besides that moment, felt like literally pooping my pants out of fear. My dog comes running back toward me, full speed, whimpering, freaked out. So I slam the sliding glass door, lock it, close the blinds, while this thing begins to slowly pull its way and clamber out of the creek in my yard, slowly making its way towards my house. So I quickly make sure the blinds are closed, keep my .22 near me, pull my dog over to the living room, which is right next to where the sliding glass door is, and I call the police immediately. Let them know I have an intruder. So I sat there with my dog, quiet, waiting. An officer showed up within 10 minutes. Nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary. He even went and checked out back for me. Nothing. No tracks, no sign of anything disruptive. Even out by the creek. Said he wasn't sure what I saw, or who I saw, but they must be gone now. Said he'll stick around for another hour, just to make sure everything is at peace, and the person doesn't return. He did, and then eventually drove away. told me to let him know that if anything goes wrong, be sure to give him another call. Well, the next day, I went onto a local Facebook group and reached out to a local Bigfoot investigator. I don't believe in Bigfoot, but I have no idea what it was I was dealing with. Some unknown animal that I had never seen, and I figure if anything, this person might have answers. Him and I exchanged phone numbers, and we chatted on the phone for a little while, when later that afternoon, he came over to investigate himself. I told him my experience, and he initially thought it was a Bigfoot that I was dealing with. Even though I didn't believe, after taking me a bit back further into the woods beyond the creek, where it's a little more swampy,
Chuck, what's up, man?
we found a couple of footprints, or what we believed to be footprints, that looked almost like a large lizard.
Forget this was
I didn't even know what I was looking at, but he seemed to be very freaked out. He wouldn't tell me what they were, and told me he's leaving immediately. That what I'm dealing with is far worse than any Bigfoot. I wasn't even sure what he meant by that, but he seemed very panicked, very scared. After leaving, I just left it to me and my dog being on our own, and that we'll just have to handle the situation ourselves. The next few nights were calm, and nothing came of it. But then, about a week later, we heard the noise again.
I thought that was... monsters. I have one right here. Why would you say that? What's up, man? How you doing, Bobby? Bobby, man, well, check it out. I'm out of time. But man, check it out. I didn't eat the best food today, but I am. But I'll come back on maybe later, but check it out, Bobby. I appreciate you joining, man, or coming on. I will probably be back in maybe an hour or so, or something like that. Or no, I mean in a couple hours, maybe. But man.